We live in a culture that makes it very difficult for people to just embrace stillness. There's always something happening, there's always a problem involved, we're always wrestling with something, and it almost feels like you have to respond to everything that happens to you. Like something is required of you when in reality sometimes it's just best to not do anything. Not everything calls for your response. Sometimes you're just better off not doing anything, just being still. There's value in stillness. This is something that has been lost, something that our ancestors knew about, something that we really put little to no attention to, right? We're always wrestling with something, we're always seeking something, or we're trying to find something. And there's a difference. There's a difference between seeking something and finding something. There's all the difference in the world. When you're seeking something, you have a goal in mind, right? You have tunnel vision. There's a goal involved. You want that goal, you want to achieve it, and you're seeking the goal. Okay? The problem with seeking is that that's the only thing that you see. You have tunnel vision. The only thing that you see is the goal, and you really miss out on all the graces of life that are standing right in front of you, that you're blind to. It's a blind spot when you're only seeking as opposed to finding, right? When you find something, there's no goal involved. You just come across it, right? You're not contaminating it with your own will. You just found it. You weren't looking for it. You weren't seeking it. You found it, right? Finding something requires that you surrender, that you just let life unfold, right? And it's something that a lot of us have trouble with because it's uncomfortable to let go of control. And that's precisely what finding something requires you to do, to just let go of the control. And it's very difficult to stop the goalpost from moving. We always have that uh, seeking mentality that we're baptized with, that you have to seek or you have to accomplish a goal, right? When in reality, you should be feeling your path, right? You should be embracing the unknown and just being, right? Being is one of the most mystical things that happens to people, right? It clears out all the noise. You're not looking for anything, you're just allowing things to be. There is value in stillness, right? Stillness is one of the most mystical things that is out there, right? Like, for example, in the animal kingdom, being still, stillness is linked to your survival, right? You have to engage in these practices. So for example, like a lion or a crocodile, right? When they're trying to get their next meal, they have to be still, right? A lion or a cheetah or a crocodile has to be still for hours before they find something, before they find their next meal. It's linked to their survival, right? They have to be still until it's the right time for them to strike, right? This is biological, right? Take, for example, a snake or a frog, right? They have to be still because if the snake isn't still, what happens to the eagles up top? They come down and they swoop the snake. The snakes have to be still. They have to move slowly. Same thing with frogs. Stillness is linked to your survival. It's a requirement, right? Animals in the animal kingdom, they know this. They know that stillness is the tool that needs to be embraced in order for you to survive, okay? We don't do that anymore because all our food is at the grocery store, right? There was a time where we also had to practice stillness, just being still or not doing anything and not seeking something but finding it, right? There's all the difference in the world. Now we're no longer required to be still to get our next meal. All our meals are at the grocery store. We could just go and buy it, right? So we don't really practice stillness, right? We're never silent. We never just block out all the noise. The only time we really do have a moment of silence is when someone dies, right? You're at a funeral or perhaps you're at an event and say, have a moment of silence for, the person. And then we have a silence, right? Then we have that moment of silence, right? But silence is embedded in the very fabric of life. We just don't know it's there. You know, even when noise is chaotic, when there's like music, for example, music has resting notes. There's parts of the music, even the most chaotic, or one of the most chaotic noises, like music, heavy metal, rock, any type of music, always has resting notes, meaning there's a moment of silence in between the notes in order to fabricate the song, right? Music needs silence in order for it to exist, right? It's an ingredient, right? It's an ingredient that we turn a blind eye to, right? We turn a blind eye, we turn a blind eye to the fact that we should be letting life unfold. We should be letting life unfold. We should not be contaminating life with our own will, because our will is often selfish and corrupted. We have this need to springboard into action, right? Like, I need to do this. If I'm not doing this, I'm wasting my time. There's like a restlessness feeling to it, and we try to have our ninja grip around life. Like, I'm gonna will my way to the top, right? I'm gonna do whatever I need to accomplish, right? And the reality is that a lot of people fall into this trap where they're so motivated to do something, and they don't realize that motivation is very unreliable. Motivation is temporary. It's there 1 minute and then it's gone. Okay? Don't rely on motivation. Motivation will leave you. Okay? Have you ever noticed that when you need motivation the most, it's when it's gone? Right? When you need motivation the most, that's when it leaves you. Right? You cannot depend on motivation. It's very unreliable. It's a quick band-aid. Motivation is a quick band-aid, and motivation cannot be trusted, because when you need it, it's not going to be there. What people really need is clarity, right? I've talked about this before. People who need motivation, or they feel they need motivation, what they're really looking for is clarity. And you don't get clarity unless there's stillness in your life. Okay, what do I mean by clarity? Clarity means that life makes sense to you. Somebody who has clarity, what they're saying is that life makes sense to me. Somebody who does not have clarity in their life means that life doesn't make sense to them. Okay? So people who have clarity in their life, they don't need motivation. Let me say that again. People who have clarity in their life, they don't need motivation. It's only the people that don't have clarity in their life that are seeking or trying to find motivation in their life. Again, unreliable, right? So if you wake up in the morning and you need motivation to get out of bed, it means that you don't have clarity in your life, right? If you wake up in the morning and you don't need motivation to get out of bed, it means you have clarity in your life, right? What people really want is clarity, not necessarily motivation, right? So clarity comes from stillness, right? It's your inability to embrace stillness that fogs up your perception of the world, right? When you're simply being, when there's stillness in your life, when you're finding things as opposed to seeking things, and you're letting life unfold, that's when you get clarity, right? Stillness and finding things, letting life to unfold, surrendering, that's what provides the clarity that you need, and then you no longer need motivation. Okay? It just clears out the noise, right? It clears out the noise, and it allows you to follow your own internal mapping. Okay? There's a reason why we need to submit. There's a reason why we need to surrender. Don't go against nature, right? It's a battle you're just not going to win. At the end of the day, it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be, and that's life.